Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're going to talk about game difficulty and the difficulty you should set your games at that you paid your money for to play. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we're going to dig into this today. So I've been seeing these kind of things, you know me. I mean, if you've been watching this for a while, you know I get on Twitter. Mainly just to try to promote my channel and stuff like that, and to kind of see what's going on, kind of keep my ear to the ground. Because that's the easiest thing that I have the quickest access to, that I can actually, kind of just get some information pretty quick. And then, as I see certain stuff, then I can research it a little more and stuff like that. But I tend to see game difficulty come up a lot these days. And like people, spouting off, their little nonsense about, what kind of game, or what difficulty you should be in. And I can tell that leads to a lot of pressure to try to play games, on a harder difficulty. So, all right, let's get into this, because there's lots of different types of gamers, I mean, the only time I really would go out of my way to try to do like something on like the hardest difficulty is, man, if that's the only game I got to play for the next 6 months, yeah, I'm probably going to try to get as much out of that as I can. So, there's plenty of different types of gamers though. You got your casual, you got your, gamer that just likes to, your gamer enthusiast. This is the way I put it. You have your casual gamer. Then you have your gamer enthusiast. I consider myself on the gamer enthusiast level. And then you have like your hardcore gamers. And then you have like your competitive, competitive gamers. So the hardcore gamers, I usually regulate those guys to the people that just are like, want their next Dark Souls game to come out, and they like that really hard, extreme difficulty level. Then you got, competitive dudes that play like their Call of Duty, stuff like that or whatever. And then you got your casual and your enthusiast. So an enthusiast is somebody that I consider myself. I'm a gaming enthusiast. So that means I like to experience lots of different types of games. Like lots of different types of games. Like I literally will go out of my way to buy every AAA experience that comes out. Some AA experiences, and lately I have been buying and playing some indie stuff. Now that I got Game Pass, I do dabble in a lot more indie than I used to ever even. There was no way I was going to buy any of them indie titles before. You know what I mean? Before Game Pass, I would have never taken my time to go and play those, because my time was already dedicated to a bunch of other stuff. So, casual gamers, those people don't get on Twitter and really worry about anything. Gamer enthusiasts, they're hardcore guys, and then you've got your guys that, I mean, well, obviously you got your fanboys too. Your fanboys are like, well, you didn't play it on the hardest level and blah blah blah. If anybody tries to, and most of the stuff usually comes up when people are trying to like talk about a game or something. Mostly, when they're bagging on journalists and stuff. And let's put it this way, okay? If you're a casual gamer enthusiast, whatever, this is kind of the way I look at it. What experience do I want out of the game? Like if I'm playing a game that's got like a really good story, but I mean the rest of the systems are just like mediocre. Like sometimes I'll just dial it down and get through the story and get the story, as unimpeded as I can. If it's a really long drug out game, yeah, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'd just probably switch down the difficulty, because I am not about to grind out a story game. And I really just, with story games are the ones that I mainly will crank it down. Like, well, I mean, like I don't usually crank it down past normal or whatever, but if you keep your games on about normal, I would say normal is about an average playthrough. Okay, normal is going to give you a decent enough challenge to where you're probably going to die maybe a few times or whatever, during a game or whatever, but it's still going to give you some sort of satisfaction getting through it. Like if you're playing through Disney games or something and you're playing them on easy, man, you're only going to get the experience that you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. If you crank your difficulty down on everything and you play through the game, oh yeah, I mean, like, you'll get the satisfaction of getting through the game, getting all the story, getting all of that stuff. It really is a case by case basis, to be completely honest with you. That's the way you should look at it. What experience do you want to receive from that game? And I mean, we'll get into horror games here in a minute too, because horror games, a lot of people, you know, are just a little bit like, oh gosh, I don't want to play that, like I get it, man. I used to be like that when I was younger. I used to be like that, like when the first Resident Evil came out. Like I would dread going around every corner, and I would take my time and I'd do it really slow, and maybe I'd get around that corner and get to another save room, and then I would save it, and then I would quit playing, and then I would come back later after I built myself back up, and that's why it would take a while to get through those games. Horror games, most of the time, the way the mechanics on those really are is like you're supposed to just run. Like, that's what you do in Resident Evil. You don't have the ammo to sit and shoot and kill every single thing in there. So you're supposed to run. Like, that's the whole point of it. Like, survival, you're supposed to run away. I mean, there's obviously some bosses and stuff that you have to fight, but I mean, for the most part, you can just run around everything. Like, it doesn't even... It's just how you do with certain situations and stuff. You got these new games like Visage. The first person, like Resident Evil 7 was definitely more scary than 8. You've got, those types of titles that are starting to come out, and they're really starting to push the boundaries of like the fear factor and stuff. So, I mean, if you're queasy to that stuff, man, don't force yourself to play it. But I do recommend that you do give those type of games a try and just kind of tough it out. I mean, just it's a video game. It's not going to hurt you. It's just something that you're going to play and that you're going to be kind of creeped out about it and stuff like that. And it's fun, but yeah, I mean, crank the difficulty down on it. Just play through it, have fun with it. And that's the only thing I can really tell you on that. But let's get back to like difficulty. Like I said, story games, any kind of like a story game, like a Sony first party game, I don't necessarily... I mean, they're getting to the point where they're like 20, 30 hours long. Like when Horizon Forbidden West comes out, I'm going to play that game through on normal, because I feel like normal is going to give me just enough challenge, but at least let me get my story and be able to, get through that and hopefully the weekend or whatever. Story games and stuff like that, like adventure games, open world games, I don't ever crank the difficulty way up. I just don't see any reason to that, because 90% of the time I'm just running around exploring stuff anyways. So yeah, I don't necessarily know if... like I said, it's definitely a case by case basis that you're going to want to play around with your difficulty. My rule of thumb, because I've been playing games for so long and I buy so many of them, that if I get stuck, on something like Dark Souls or whatever, I end up setting them aside. And then I don't come back to them for a little while, and then I got to remember how to play it. And by the time I figure out how to replay it again, like I'm just like, whatever. I'm done, and I put it away for later. I love those games. I love the way I feel when I get through those, when I complete them, when I beat a boss that I've been stuck on for a long time. Like, I love that freaking feeling. Do I beat them all like within like a week or so? No. I'm still on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and we have Elden Ring coming out in like a month. So that's just, I mean, like, those games, I love to play them. I love to get in there and explore them and stuff. And like, I'm far enough into Sekiro Shadows Die Twice now that it's like, oh my gosh, man, I got like 2 more bosses or something, and then the game's complete. And like, I played that game every day. I'd come home from work and I'd play it religiously for like a couple of weeks. And then, more stuff started coming out. So it's not that I lost interest. It's just that I moved on to other experiences. And to me, difficulty of a game doesn't really matter as much as enjoyment. Like, am I enjoying this game? Do I really like this game? Do I really care about it? Is it something that, like, I just want to hurry up and get through so I can just put another notch in my belt and just move on from it because it's, like mediocre combat or just something else and it just doesn't really add up, but the story's really good. It really is a case by case basis. Only you can make that decision, but there are some times that I have, that I have maybe had the difficulty a little bit low on some games, and I just kind of feel like that might have ruined the experience. Games that have like really big upgrade trees and stuff like that. Those games there, if they have like a dip, like with Halo Infinite, when I got done reviewing that, I played through that on normal, but there's a lot of stuff that you can upgrade in that game. And if you play through it on a little bit harder difficulty, you might be forced to use more things than what I ended up using just to get through that game. So that's something you want to take into consideration as you're playing these games too, and trying new things like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Oh my freaking gosh, man. There are so many different things that you can change your arm into. And if you only stick to like one or two, there's like some bosses in there with like with the right tool, you'll be able to get through that boss like a lot quicker, or you'll be able to get through that enemy a lot quicker. It always helps to experiment, and sometimes, take your time with some of those harder games and really learn the systems and really learn the tools so that you can, turn yourself into that Shinobi Ninja, or turn yourself into that Witcher, so that you can really experience everything that game truly has to offer. The Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games. I could play through that game so many times, and I love coming back to that because I learn more and I feel better every single time I play that game. So, yeah, that's kind of tonight's rant. Don't let people bully you into playing games on a harder difficulty just because, like, it's your game. You bought it. You paid for it. You can get the whatever experience you want out of that. But I tell you from experience that if you set the difficulty too low on everything, you're going to miss out on a lot. You're going to miss out on a lot. So it is kind of like a careful balance to where you need that difficulty to be able to fully enjoy that game. Some games play better, harder. Some games are just, gosh, get in there and get the story because everything else just isn't really that great. I'll tell you this, with the newer Assassin's Creed games, I'm not a big fan of the combat, so I really don't care about that. So I don't really force myself to try to like really get into that. And that goes for like the older Assassin's Creed games too. The combat was never a strong suit, so it's never been that big of a deal to me to just be able to get in there and get my story. So I mean, what was it? Origins I set on hard. That one I did on hard, and that was just pointless. I felt like I shouldn't have done that. Odyssey I cranked down to like medium or something, and then the newest one I don't even care. Like I put that one on normal or whatever as well too. So cranking it up to hard is just everything becomes a bullet sponge, so it's just kind of or a stab sponge, so it's just it just gets kind of pointless on certain games. So it's literally a case by case basis. You have to pick the right thing that is gonna benefit you and make your experience better. So if you like this content and you thought this was cool, if you want me to dive deeper into subjects like this, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you felt about it. Let me know if you think I'm completely wrong and every game should be played on hard. Get good, I'd really like to know how you guys feel about this and what your thoughts are in game difficulty, because that's my style, man. Like, that's how I do things. I choose depending on the game and how that game is going to feel. That's what I use. That's what I base it on. If it's something that I want to spend a little extra time in, then I'll crank the difficulty up a little bit. If it's something I just need to get through because there's so much other stuff, then who knows? Sometimes, but I've ruined a lot of games doing that stuff too, though. So, yeah, let me know how you feel. We'll see you in the next one.